What's up, everybody? This is Behind the Dice, and today I will be sharing one of my deck builds. And today we'll be looking at Kit Fisto, the new Kit Fisto from the Across the Galaxy set that's yet to be released, and Cassian Andor. Now I've seen this combo kind of sprinkled around TTS a little bit. It seems very solid, so I figured I'd give a give the attempt to make my own version of this deck. Um, so here's kind of my thinking behind this. Kit Fisto is a neatly designed character. I think he's really cool for his dice sides. I think 16 cost is fair for his dice sides. Yeah, it kind of blows. He's 11 health, 12 I think would be awesome, but given his ability, 11 seems fair. Um, And of course, Cassian is just one of the most versatile characters in the game. Um, both of these characters have useful die size. Every die side except for the blank is useful for these characters, and I like that when we're running characters together. So here's kind of my thinking behind this deck. So it kind of all depends on who your opponent is going for. Um, and most likely they will be going for Kit Fisto because Kit Fisto is who most of the upgrades will be going on. So what's neat about this deck is that if you roll out Kit Fisto, a melee side, um, you shouldn't feel too bad about blocking damage with it because chances are you're going to be dealing some kind of damage, even if it's just an indirect damage with Cassian. Um, so if you don't have a great roll, if you're willing to remove that 2 melee to keep Kit Fisto alive, and you have a better roll with Cassian to deal damage anyway, that feels like a good strategy. Now, if you get that godly roll with Kit Fisto, and that means he has to take some damage, but you're dealing something heavy, I would definitely suggest doing that. Um, but I think being paired with someone like Cassian, who, no matter what, if you resolve a die, will do damage. Um, you feel less bad about getting rid of a melee side on Kit Fisto. Um, Now, I know a lot of people are going to want to pair him with maybe Ayla or, I don't know, Ezra, just another blue character of some kind, but Yellow Hero is just so good. Yellow Hero has really, really good cards. I think yellow and blue is such a good color combination. 21 health combined is pretty good. It's pretty fair. Um, so I just think you can do a lot with this deck. You have a lot of choices you can make. This deck is very versatile. You can play offense while playing defense with cards like Kid Fisto and Cassian. Um, but of course, most likely your opponent will be going after Kid Fisto first. He has the better die side, I would say. I mean, Cassian has a pretty great die side, but Kit Fisto can hit a lot heavier. Plus, he's going to be having the majority of the upgrades on him. So don't feel bad about blocking damage with his melee side, because chances are you're going to be dealing damage with Cassian anyway. Now, how I personally like to play Cassian is if I'm dealing range damage with Cassian's die, I usually use the discard option with his ability, because I think discarding cards, it can be just as important as removing dice or dealing a single indirect damage. Because who knows what card you're discarding. If you're using this against a vehicle deck, you discard a planetary bombardment off the top of their deck, and you dealt damage. That's a pretty crazy move right there. Um, Cassian is just so awesome. He's so versatile. I wouldn't. If you're going full aggro, then by all means do the indirect damage part of his ability every time. But in terms of just trying to get certain cards away from your opponent, certain removal cards or against vehicles, certain support cards, don't you use the discard option too, I'd say. I think that option is very good, and even though this is mainly an aggro deck, you're doing a lot of offense. It's a heavy hitter. I still think the discard option is a good option on Cassian when resolving his dice. Usually, if I get the discard side, I will do an indirect damage because I still want to be doing damage all as much as I can, especially if I'm using Kit Fisto to block damage. So yeah, interesting pair here. So let's kind of go through the actual build. There probably won't be that many surprises here. The battlefield I chose was Citadel Landing Zone. Um, Reroll a number of your dice, then you may resolve one of your dice. It's just most likely Cassian is going to be the last die out there for you. So if you have a blank, or maybe you want to try to get damage off of his die, you can use it to re-roll it, and chances are 5 out of 6 chance you'll be resolving the die anyway and using his ability. So Citadel Landing Zone, I think, is a very good battlefield when you're using Cassian. And of course, if you have Kit Fisto out there, and if he's your last die or last 2 dice, and there's a chance you can hit that 3 or that 2, that's pretty good also. Oh, also, Kit Fisto, I can't say enough about his die. That 2 focus seems really good. So let's kind of look at the upgrades here in this deck. Again, probably nothing too surprising. The upgrades I have are 2 Ancient Lightsabers, because Ancient Lightsaber is amazing 2-cost upgrade. 3 damage size, the healing factor. If you're running a blue hero, blue anything, you probably have to have Ancient in there. Same thing with Shoto. It'll be nice to get some shields out there. So then you're not using his block ability all the time. You might be blocking damage with shields instead, so then you can actually use his die for damage. So Shoto is, again, it's just one of those blue 2-cost blue upgrades that should be in really any blue deck, hero or villain. 4 speed, because same reasons as the other 2. It'd be nice to get some speed on this deck. This deck might not be the fastest, so 4 speed can help with that. Yeah, and plus has a focus side, so that's also really nice. But yeah, 4 speed I think is a must in this deck. And by the way, all these, I have 2 of each of these cards. Dagger of Mortis, I only have 1 of them in here. It's a redeploy, so that's pretty awesome. You get a redeploy, and also it has an amazing die. And you can really pack a punch if this is on Kit Fisto. You get that +3 and that 3 base or a 2 base. That's a lot of damage. So Dagger of Mortis, again, is another great blue upgrade. It's worth every bit of those 3 resources you have to spend on it. And plus it's redeploy, so it will probably help late game as well. I have 1 Ezra's lightsaber in here. Again, mainly because of the redeploy factor and the fact that it's a 2-cost upgrade. 3 damage sides and a solid die, but the redeploy and the 2-cost upgrade is one of the biggest reasons why I have this in here. So Ezra's lightsaber is a really good card, so I would definitely put it in this deck. And of course, with any blue hero or villain, Force Illusion, keep your guy alive. Pretty basic here. Again, it can prevent having to use Kit Fisto's dice to block damage. Instead, you can just be using Force Illusion to do it, so then you can actually use his die for damage. So Force Illusion, very helpful card. I have 2 Force Illusions here, and I also have 2 second chances. Any yellow hero should have second chance in here. Putting this on Cassian at any point of the game is a good thing. It just keeps you alive. Second chance is an amazing card. I always believe it's a somewhat broken card, but put it on Cassian, and yeah. Cool, so these are the upgrades in this deck. Again, really no surprises here. The rest of this deck really shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. These are just all kind of must-haves when you're running any blue or a yellow hero. So let's move on to the events in this deck. Again, probably not a lot of surprises here. We have our two cost kind of big hitter removal cards. Beguile. I love Beguile. It's one of my favorite cards in Way of the Force. Um, I only have one of them in here though, because resources might be hard to come by in this deck. Especially if you're spending one for the three. So I think you're okay with one Beguile in here. And I also have one Entangle in here. Entangle can just... These two cards can really ruin turns, so you have to be really strategic about when you play them. But yeah, Entangle is a really good card. Should definitely be in any kind of yellow deck. Moving on, of course, we have Easy Pickings, one of the most broken removal cards in the game. If you're running Yellow Hero, Easy Pickings is a must, so that's why it's in this deck. I put Electroshock in here. I think you can either have Electroshock or Mislead, like any of those. Just a cheap, straight-up removal card. So yeah, Electroshock is in here, but I wouldn't mind swapping it with Mislead either. Either or. Doesn't really matter. Electroshock is a solid card. And of course, Overconfidence. The fact that you can re-roll two of your opponent's dice, especially if it's a good roll, um, you know, is really good. And you're removing one of them. Overconfidence is a really good card, so should be in any blue deck. So yeah, this is kind of... These are my main removal cards that at least cost something. So it's a really solid lot here. But moving down, right here, we have Close Quarters Assault. Chances are you will be, hopefully, rolling a lot of melee damage. So really destroy an opponent's turn by using this, getting rid of their hand. That... It all depends what you get rid of. If you get rid of a couple good cards in your opponent's hand, that can really mess up what they're trying to do. It can really be a deciding factor of the game, especially in like support decks. You get rid of those heavy hitting support cards. Close Quarters Assault is a really good card, and I would definitely put it in this deck. Friends in Low Places. I debated putting Friends in Low Places in here, but I just like the idea of being able to get rid of a good event card. Because most likely, because look at all the event cards up here that cost one or less. These are all good. I would love to get rid of any of these from an opponent's hand, so I put Friends in Low Places in here. So yeah, that was kind of a last minute addition. We have Caution. Giving a character 3 shields is just very good. Caution and Friends in Low Places were two cards I debated having in here. I want to try it out, but I just think Caution is very good, especially if you're running Blue Hero. Because just getting shields, especially if you get shields on Kit Fisto, because he's probably going to be targeted a lot. Caution's a very good thing to have. Truce, you need resources in this deck, so you should probably have Truce. Also, for any of these, I was thinking about getting rid of either 2 of this or 2 of this and adding in Well Connected. But I decided not to do that because chances are if you roll the resource on Cassian, you're probably going to resolve it because, again, you're able to do something else with that die side, whether it's a damage or discarding. So I thought just having Truce in here was enough. And of course, Hidden Motive. Blue, neutral, should be in any blue deck. Hidden Motive is a very good card, very good removal card, or just a very good card that can ruin an opponent's turn, or get rid of a very good roll they do. So yeah, this is kind of what I'm working with here, with this build, Kit Fisto and Cassian Andor. I'm really excited to try this deck out. I don't know how good it's going to be, especially because this is before Across the Galaxy drops, so we don't know what other cards they're going to be. But for right now, I think this is going to be a decent build. All this over here is subject to change. When these cards are actually legal to publish on the database, when the set drops, this deck will probably look different. Maybe some cards over here won't be. Depends what other upgrades there are that can go over here. So, but just for the initial build, Kit Fisto, Cassian, Andor, I think is a very solid deck. I can't wait to test it out. Well, I did test it out, and it worked pretty well. I can't wait to test it out against other across the galaxy builds. I played a couple games with it already. I won a couple of them. I think I lost one or two. So yeah, this version of the deck I tested out, so it definitely works. I just wonder how consistent it will be, and I wonder if there's better cards in the Across the Galaxy set that will fit this deck better. But for right now, I think this is a very solid build, very solid deck, very solid pairing. So, let me know if you try this deck out on TTS. Let me know how it goes. Hopefully, I can make a gameplay video with it if I have time to show you guys kind of how it works. So, this has been Behind the Dice, a Behind the Dice deck build. Kit Fisto, Cassian, Andor. Thanks for checking this out, and I'll see you at the next video. Bye.